for this website, web application, it's really about delegating the task of managing the images, and I think it's, as you see, it's very easy user experience for the people, for the different users. Just to clarify again how the intents work. So there's the service provider, and there's the client side, and in the middle there's the user agent, the browser. So you register your service, and currently it works only with the Chrome Web Store. So you have to declare something in the Chrome manifest, and if you upload the application to the Chrome Web Store, then you get this visibility to other applications. Then we have on the client side the invocation, where it says, I want to do something I don't know about product sharing. And then the browser in the middle do the selection which application goes, and then the service sends the result. Well, first the browser sends to the service and then comes back. So here we have again the code. I just want to show it or have it on the slide that you can later look it up and try it out yourself. There's one event that in WebKit they called it WebKit start activity. So you have to take care whether you want to start activity or use it. So which browser you're using, you have to use two different names, but you can handle it in the easy way with as shown above. And then you create the intent object, and here the intent object has the activity you want to do, and then the type of data you want to work with, and finally the data itself. And the data is not limited to anything, so it has just to be serializable, so that you can send it from one side to the other. And then finally you just call the functionality to start the activity. And you can add the callbacks for success or for error. So that's how we get from the service back to the client, but the result of the intent. And as I said, for the service, you declare the Chrome manifest, and you just inspect in the load function whether you received an intent or not. So if you received an intent, you can you have the object and you can work with it. So it's similar to the out here. There's also more how the user presentation is shown. So in this case it was a new window to pick the application, but maybe you want to, for example in the share application, you just want to have it inline. So that if you click on the share button, you just get a box underneath explaining what to do. So that's the inline service. That's also worked on. Also, they want to have some kind of possibility to talk to devices in your home network. And what's interesting is really if you're on a device, how to go from the web to your Android applications. So the browser should understand what not only the web pages that offer the service, but also the native applications. So if you have native applications doing Android and declaring some intents, some services for others, then the browser should translate the share, for example, on the web intent side, to something that corresponds to the Android intents. But that's the work of the user agent of the browser. And it's not limited to Android, but also to for example, Microsoft. So there in Microsoft 8 you have contracts. So there will be something that translates this. But it's at the moment it's really a new technology and still under work. And there exists already an example with PhoneGap, well with called now. It's not phone yet. It's Apache caveat. Well, they named it recently. So there you write your application in HTML and you talk through JavaScript with the native applications. So this some kind goes in this direction. So it's interesting that it exists already. And here's a list of links where you can read more about. I don't want to go into details about that, but just for your reference to have a look at it. You can follow them on Google Plus and probably Facebook, and there's a quite nice document that describes how you can implement it. It's a Google Docs document, and they describe it and update it regularly, corresponding to the development for the Chrome browser. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say about intents. Do you have any questions?
I said in the web intents, it's like my shot in web. It's like my shot intents.
Like?
Like my shot. We have to aggregate the data and modify data. So
it's not really like mashups, because in mashups you aggregate the data, so you're getting different sources. There it's really about delegating tasks. So you want to do something you don't know about. So if you're aggregating data, then you know what to do with them.
okay. Maybe open intents in the navigator it's more easy to use than in your phone because you don't have to install any application. So all the applications are on the web, and you use the service without installing any additional application. But in your phone, you have to install the application, for example, to do the spell checking or another thing. Is there another way to do open intents in your mobile without installing those applications?
Well, that's why we developed this dependency manager. So if the Google market is more open, then it would really give a nice user flow. Then the dependency manager can grab the application and install it for the user. But at the moment, everything is there, but the data. So that's the point. So I can just show you how it feels if you install something. So you just click Add to Chrome, and it's installed, downloading, and accepting. So maybe it asks for some permissions. Okay, I'm not logged in, but well, yeah, so that's the URL that was written here, and I'm in the new application. So it's, as you said, it's really easy because everything is online available. Okay. Yeah.
Alright. How failure is managed?
How?
Failure. The failure.
So
If an action is delegated
yeah.
to a third-party service, so on error can
Yeah. Well, you have to call back for error, and you can handle it yourself. There wasn't. Yeah. So you get a message callback,
Okay.
and then you can do what you want to say, try again or try later or no internet connection.
Yes, thanks for all the explanation first. I'm not an expert, but I have a small question. Do you think that the fact that we delegate many tasks, it will increase the consumption of data on the Android or on the smartphone, and may make our application a little bit slow? You know that when we use application, when we are using the 3G, the data is exposed to you, and the fact that you delegate, we have to pay for the data. And another thing, it will make our application slow.
So the question is, if you delegate on your phone from an Android application to a web application. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So if you go for the web application, then it will be more expensive than doing everything on the phone. That's right. But there's always this discussion, do I do a native application or web application? But I think in general, it's everything going in the long way going to web applications. Okay, then thank you for your attention.
How many of you have questioned this? Look at the facts. Most people would say, look, it's too full. You have on one side 110 million iOS devices shipped. These are all figures, by the way. Once again, these are June 2011 figures. I could redo this, but I was too lazy. I have to admit. That's the only thing I learned as a developer. Being lazy is a good thing. It means you don't redo things. But in general, people show you this thing and say, well, it's too full, look at this. 110, which is very small on one side, versus almost 400,000 applications. Yeah, that must be too full. Like, as an engineer, I look at this and say, well, that doesn't tell me anything. I'd like to see the figures behind. So I tried to grab the figures behind for you. Just for you. Exclude. These are the figures from today. Number of apps in Android market, or Google Play, and in the App Store. In Nokia, and I put in Windows Phone 7 just for fun there. So 450 to 500,000, 550 to 600,000, so on and so forth. Download per month. This is a figure that is very hard to get because most people don't tell you about that. But you can kind of infer. Recently, I believe that if you look at May, iOS is probably lower than that because there are all sorts of reports saying that they had a big thing over Christmas, which inflated the numbers, and then since then it's been going down a bit. Android around 1.1 billion, so both of them are more or less roughly in the same place. Nokia, this is an updated figure, 390 million, and then you divide. This is the average. So average is not perfect, but it's a start. At least you can see things better. So on an average basis, if you have an app in the Google Play or in iOS, this is the number of downloads that you're going to get. Based on this, you want to go on Nokia, obviously. Android is doing slightly better than iOS, so it would tell you what kind of people tell you that Android is slightly better place to go business than iOS, but it's only marginally. 6 months ago, these were the figures, and you can see that. I'm going to click again. Your memory. If you can see that iOS has actually slightly improved. Android has slightly, big time deterioration there. A lot of new apps, downloads being fairly flat, despite the number of devices out there. So, based on this, you're kind of thinking, okay, now I'm not seeing these big bars that we saw earlier on. I have a better view. A better view that Android is slightly fuller or slightly emptier than iOS. That Windows Phone 7 is super overhyped. There's no reason why anyone who's got a brain would put an app into Windows Phone 7. And Nokia is completely actually a platform where you could probably do business in. But once again, these are comparative figures. The best thing to compare it with is the web. How many new websites were launched in 2011, in your opinion? What? You know this figure? Based on Pingdom, there was 300 million websites launched in 2011. In total, 555 million websites. So these are not apps anymore, these are websites. Number of downloads of page views per month is about 10,000 billion. Yeah, those are kind of figures that and then you divide. This gives you, if you've got a website, you've got a choice per month of having about 18,000 page views. Now, how do you compare 18,000 page views to 2,400 downloads? Who's got a website here that they maintain, a blogger or anything like this? Come on. No one? Yeah, blog? How many page views do you have a month?
Roughly 2,000.
2,000 page views a month? So you're much lower than this 18,000 figure. How many people does that really mean?
First time, maybe like half, 1,000.
1,000 people? So people will have 2 page views a month for you?
Yes.
Okay. Not really. You have 2 pages on your website? Just kidding. But if you take a look at the 18,000 figure, and you say, okay, roughly on my website I'm going to half new people, half old people coming back. So these page views therefore becomes down to 9,000 roughly of new people coming every month, which is like what new downloads are all about. And you think about the fact that you're probably going to have people looking maybe at 2, 3, 4 pages maximum. That's 9,000 divided by, let's say, 4 pages, that's 2,500. So we're getting at a stage where actually the web is more or less as full as these platforms, which is quite an interesting fact. So I don't know if you follow the math, but you roughly, these are roughly equivalent to, this is 2,400 to equivalent to 80,000, which means that for iPhone, the App Store is already fuller than the web based on this. What is quite interesting is I did these figures 6 months ago, and back then the web was actually, if you were to do the division, you would get more into like 2,000, 1,500. So 2 months ago, the web was actually launching an application was actually a better thing. You had more chances to be seen than on the web. Today, it looks like things have been equated, based on the fact that there are more people on the web today, and that the markets have been fuller. So it's quite an interesting one. But averages, anyone who's done math, averages don't tell you any story. What you would like to see is like, how fat is the long tail? That's just a bad sentence to say, but let's take a look at it. Figures from June, roughly. Top 50 apps, or top 10 apps, sorry, 43% of the time people spend on apps. Once again, interesting figure. How do I compare it? What do I compare it with? Well, I got you the latest figures for this month in the US of web traffic on the top 10 websites. Now you do the math. What does that represent in terms of total traffic? Well, I did the math for you because obviously we'd be here tomorrow still. That's about 41%.